Hey everyone, I'm Lorraine from Sow the Land, and today I'm going to be walking you through our garden in an update video from our last video. This is a collaboration with Homesteaders of America, and the last time we did a video was in May. And we're here in June, and it just so happens that it's a chilly day. I don't know why, but it is. And so we're here in June, and I'm gonna walk you through our garden. We're gonna do an update tour of our garden. Last time we started out the tour right here in the first row that we planted for the season, and that's our garlic row. And we still have our garlic. We pulled out the scapes, and actually I found one scape that we left behind, and I think I might leave it and let it flower, and I'll pull off all of the little garlic seeds and harvest those. But normally we harvest all the scapes, which we did this year already. It's usually the first week of June, and you can eat them. It's the flowering part of the garlic, and you can eat them raw, you can put them in a salad, you can make garlic butter, which is something that I did this year. You can make a pesto out of it. There's so many uses for garlic scapes, and it helps prevent the garlic bulb from losing all of that energy when the plant pushes all of its energy into the flowering part. So we just pull that out and eat that. So we still have our garlic. We're about ready to harvest it, probably within the next couple of weeks, maybe in a week or two. It looks like it's starting, the leaves are starting to die off. Our peas this year are wonderful, and they're so abundant. I think the last time we had this garden tour video, the peas were really small, but now the peas have come in and they look fantastic, and we've been enjoying them with many of our meals. It's about early summer now, and so this plant is starting to die off. So once we harvest all these peas and the plant continues to yellow, we're going to tear it out and plant our cucumber here on this trellis. These are not my prize cabbages. Whoa! Good job. These could probably use a little bit more time in the ground, but and this was our roots row where we had radishes and turnips, carrots and beets. The radishes and turnips are all done and harvested, and we've eaten them all, and they've all been delicious. Now we've got the beets that are ready. The carrots quite aren't ready, even though some of them are going to seed, but the beets are ready, and they're ready to be harvested. Oh, you want to help me pick out the beets? Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, look at this one. Can you pick this one? Mm-hmm. So gather the leaves up. Okay. Oh, wow, that looks great. And these leaves, you can also eat these leaves, and these are very nutritious. So we will be putting these in salads and smoothies, and they're great for sauteing too, which is something that I really like. You can't really do that with romaine lettuce, but you can do it with the beet tops. They look good. I was worried because I thought that maybe I hadn't thinned them enough, or maybe that our soil was too compact, but these look pretty good. What we'll do with these beets is probably just roast them up with some carrots, maybe sweet potatoes and beets, and just roast them in the oven, and they're really, really good. We'll also eat them raw in a salad. I have planted a little okra plant. I started it over into the greenhouse, and we transplanted here. I've also got a couple more sprinkled out through the garden where I know I'm gonna be harvesting soon, and I'll clear a pathway for them. But let's see what's under this row cover. Now these are my prize cabbages. They're actually ready to be harvested. I just needed to have some time. So look at these. These are, I think they're Chinese cabbage, and they look fantastic. Also planted some arugula in here, which is going to seed. So this is ready to be harvested. This is actually a very big moment right here. This is our very first real cabbage that we've grown here on our property. We've grown cabbage before in California, but we were not able to successfully grow cabbage with like a head. It's always been pretty leafy, kind of like this one here. Like it never really forms a head. So this variety is doing really well, so we might just continue this variety growing it here on our property. Literally just give it a tug. It'll all come out. There we go. Ooh. Our very first cabbage.
That's big.
That is a beauty. And we love cabbage. We eat a lot of cabbage, so for us to grow cabbage, that's big, because we make a lot of sauerkraut.
All right, so we're gonna put the veggies here. We use our veggie washing station to kind of hose everything off before we put it inside.
Here's another one. This one's a beauty. These are my prize cabbages. And on this trellis, I've planted cucumbers and beans. Like, I think these are beans. And then on this side is cucumbers. And on the inside here, I've planted our tomatillo plants. I don't have a reason for why I planted them in here. I just planted them in here. I probably could have chose a better spot for them somewhere else where they won't be so shaded, but so far they're doing great. And I thought I could help trellis them up on this thing anyway. And as you can see, my calendula plants are starting to bloom. Here I've got some bush beans that I started over in the greenhouse, and they're doing great here. These shouldn't need a trellis, but I'm just gonna watch them and see. These ones are low bush beans.
This is all the cilantro that went to seed.
I've got lots of lemon balm growing in my garden, and it's about ready to be harvested as well. On the ends of the rows, I like to plant things that are gonna grow pretty big. Like, I've got a watermelon plant that's growing here, and another bush bean that's growing here. This is like out of control brassicas. They're kind of going to seed, and they're just getting taller and taller. So I'm not really sure why we have such a hard time growing brassicas on our property. We probably just need an extensive soil test to see what's going on, but we try them anyway. We try them every year, and if I would have given up on the cabbages, then we would have never had those beautiful heads of cabbages. So we just keep on trying and just trying different things. So this was cauliflower and broccoli. It's not really coming to a head or showing any signs of flowering, but we're just gonna continue trying. I've got some more cucumbers growing here on this trellis, on this side of the trellis. They're gonna grow up and mix in with the beans. And in these two rows, I've got tomato rows. These are our tomato rows. I've started already twining them up against the panel here to kind of hold them up for support. So they seem to be doing really well. This happens to be one of my favorite little tiny spots in the garden. I don't know why I prefer it more so than all the rest of the garden, but this for some reason just makes me happy. I've got some oregano from last year, and I've got some chard that's growing really well, and some nasturtium. These little three things in here that just make me happy every time I walk by them. I'm not sure why. I've got a few tomatoes here that don't have a trellis. These are determinate tomatoes, and that means they're only gonna get a certain height. They shouldn't need to trellis. They're more like bush type tomatoes. So they're gonna be like the really, really tiny cherry ones, maybe even smaller. And I planted a few of those here. And I've got some carrots growing here inside the trellis, and on the outside more cucumbers and some purple yard-long beans. Last year we had amazing purple yard-long beans. They're like noodle beans. They're really long. They're about this long, and you can can them. They're great. Here I've got some more beans. These are like the green beans. These are actually the dragon's tongue beans and tongues of fire mixed in there. They're already starting to trellis and they look great, and I'm excited for green beans. In our last row here, we've got the squash row. I like to do the bigger plants on the end rows, so that way we can kind of push the leaves and the squash to go out that way instead of being crowded inside here. So we've got some yellow squash, 2 of each, and some zucchini squash, and in between I've planted some beets. It kind of looks like I need to go through and re-sow some more, but we do have some beets already coming up, beets and carrots. And then we have 2 patty pan type zucchini squash over here. Something new here on our homestead, we had the pigs right here in this area, and they just completely tore up this area, dug up all the grass, and really just tilled the ground for us. So we put the pigs to work, and in this place we have our new pumpkin patch. Now it's still a work in progress. We're still working on filling in the rows with mulch and some row coverings to keep the grass from coming out. But the pumpkins are already in place because that was priority. We have about 4 or 5 different varieties, from like pumpkin pie pumpkins, like sugar pumpkins, the warded Incan cream puff, Algonquin squash, a Cinderella pumpkin. I'm just about to plant some Jack B. Littles in here as well, and some acorn squash. Now a quick update, we already showed you our onions in the last video, but just a quick update on the onions. They're growing great, they look great, but we've started to see some weeds come in between the onions. So now's the time that I'm going to spend most of my early mornings and late evenings in the garden just pulling up some weeds. But so far the onions have been a real easy grow and they're looking great. All right, that concludes our garden tour. It's just a quick update of what's going on in our garden and how different it looks from month to month. And again, this is a collaboration with the Homesteaders of America. There are other people doing garden tours. Go head on over to the Homesteaders of America YouTube page and check out the playlist that they've got going on of all the other homesteaders that are sharing their garden updates. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you guys next time.